everyone. Good afternoon. And hi, Christina.
Hi,
Welcome to
Veer.
Women in Media. How
Yep,
are you, Krian?
I'm okay,
You all
considering
right?
everything else that has happened in my life.
Cool ka lang dyan. I know you're fighting it well.
Yeah. Oh,
And then, happy spring to you. Ano na?
same to you.
Ano na siya? Season for allergies na.
I know.
And also, we have a lot to talk about, Krian, dahil ang daming problema sa mundo. Sa Pilipinas, sa Amerika, and all that. We'll take it in stride. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but we have to. So our guest for this evening is a brilliant journalist and a very brave one. He is the senior researcher at the Asia Division of Human Rights Watch, covering the Philippines. Our very own friend and colleague, very inspiring guy, Carlos Conde. Hi, Kaloy.
Hi,
Hi,
Kaloy.
Christina.
Hi,
Good
good to
morning.
have you. Yep.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Yes. Good to
Kaloy,
see
how
you.
are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm holding up well. I mean, our country is in a constant state of flux. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine, you know that. But imagine
Yeah.
how it does to you, what it does to you, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
but we're slugging along, as they say.
That's right.
Personally,
Yeah.
how are you feeling stressed, or are you just taking this as a part of our job as journalists?
You know, at some point, doing this for a long time, you tend to not manage stress, but really just to live with it in many ways. Of course, you manage it because if you don't, you get, you'll probably collapse mentally, physically, intellectually. But
Mhm.
there are ways to manage stress and anxiety doing this job, and and obviously hindi lang naman ako yung nagaganito. No? Even ordinary Filipinos are dealing with a
Yeah.
lot of stress in the Philippines, and I don't know how they cope. To be honest, I'm still trying to understand kung paano nila paano sila nagko-cope sa stress and
Mhm.
anxiety,
Yeah.
especially all of these things happening. But we're gonna
I
get there.
see you cooking, so is that part of
Oh
stress
yeah.
management?
Where? I don't see it.
Yeah, I see him cook.
I-
Nagtatad-tad ng mga garlic
That's,
vegetables.
I mean, when you're, I don't know, I really don't want to call it vlogging or anything. When you
Oh.
make the video and then you struggle to create
Oh.
images and visuals, sabi ko, "Naku, I can't just keep showing my face on screen. It's something that's probably not related to what I'm talking about, but it's still the same
Are
time.
you are
I'm very,
you
so
getting a
I'm
lot
a
of,
home.
are you
So
getting a lot of following to your cooking show?
no, I don't have a specific cooking show. I just post things on my Instagram. I have
Oh.
an Instagram account called Angry Home Cook. So that's where
Ay,
I put
angry home cook pala.
it's a, it's a Angry Home Cook. But also, I do that quite a bit especially on weekends. So
Oh.
when I do commentaries about the state of affairs of our country,
Mm.
I know
Yeah.
me.
So,
Go
Kaloy,
on.
let's start with Philippine politics.
Yeah.
What are the positions that are up for grabs to be elected in the coming elections?
Well, there's a lot.
National and local, di ba?
Yeah. This is a general election, so we're talking about the whole caboodle except barangay and Sangguniang.
Oh.
So we just had that. So like we're gonna be except the president and vice president, obviously. But the Senate down to the municipalities, towns,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be electing them. Senate only 12 seats, but the
Yeah,
House of
yeah.
our Congress, all 300, I think 17 of them are
Oh,
running.
ang dami
That
pala.
those posts will be it's and then of course governors, mayors down to the cities and
Oo.
board members and councilors.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
it's a fiesta, as you can imagine, as always,
Mhm.
as always are in the Philippines.
Yeah. And how do you feel about it?
To be you can be optimistic about it, and you can be not even flippant about it, but say this is democracy in action. This has always been
Yeah.
politics in the Philippines, the elections in the Philippines, where the beauty about elections in the Philippines is the sheer rambunctiousness of it. Magulong masaya. So now
Oh,
as I said, it's a fiesta. But on the other hand, there are certain things about these elections that that unsettles me, and should probably unsettle you as well, and many others, which is what you know.
what is it?
Political dynasties.
Oh,
They
yeah,
seem to be
of
much more
course.
entrenched, and you see them everywhere in the
Yeah,
Philippines.
yeah,
No, it's not only at the higher echelons of positions in
yeah.
government, but down to the local level.
All over. Yeah,
And then one other thing is just how, and this really concerns me very, very deeply, is just how they have basically hijacked the party list system, so
yeah,
that now everyone can run for the party list
yeah,
positions in Congress, and that's turning it around and
yeah.
making it part of the whole political circus that we're seeing.
Hmm.
So there's a problem definitely about that, Kaloy. But that is also a reflection of our culture. So how do you solve that problem when it is like our way of thinking and our way of life?
Well, looking at it from a cultural perspective, I think it's just one thing. I
Hmm.
think there are far deeper factors to consider here. I mean, certainly the conduct of the elections in the Philippines, part of it is culture. I mean, I'll keep going back to the fiesta mentality that we have,
Hmm.
and this big gathering of Filipinos and their chance to meet up and have some FaceTime with their politicians.
Celebrities. Yeah,
Yes, celebrities, and who are only willing to entertain people, not too much, not much to educate or tell them about their platforms or what needs to be done in this country, but really just to keep their attention. So you now see people running for office, having celebrities on stage,
yeah,
gyrating and also much more, I think, profoundly, I think you now have celebrities of all stripes
Yeah.
running for office. So there's this, the 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 relationship between celebrity and politics have become much too much too intricate na. So, and it's all about keeping the audience engaged, entertained, name recall,
entertaining.
like that. And it's, I mean, I'm sure other countries have that as well. I'm sure in the
Hmm.
US, some degrees,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have that sort of way of doing things during elections. But in the Philippines, it's really, it almost feels like Filipinos look forward to elections because this is like an occasion not so much for politics but merriment. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And,
That's
and
true.
there's nothing inherently bad with that, except that when you're too focused on entertainment and things like that, things are bound to get ignored. You know.
I don't see a movement that's speaking out against political dynasties. Is there one?
Well, there is. There's always been some mostly coming from civil society and media, but from within the political kind of sector itself, it's what you call this is it's a non-issue. I
Are
mean,
they are they criticizing Vilma Santos, for example? I haven't heard any
not them,
critical comment about
not
Vilma
them.
Santos.
Some civil society groups, anti-corruption groups, political watchdogs, and even some
They
committee
are.
of experts, but that's just it. But
Yeah.
ordinary people, and the political kind of community, no, they're not
Yeah, yeah,
that. In fact, they're embracing that.
yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
can see this by the sheer number of them from the same family running for different positions. So now you have Vilma Santos and her sons,
And the two
uh,
sons.
and then andyan pa yung asawa niya, si
Oh,
Reflecto, sa
yeah.
finance. And then you also have, on the other hand, you have the Tulfo family.
The which
It's a
one? Tutulfo.
Yeah,
And Ramon Revilla family.
Ramon Revilla. So and these are just the more common, the more known ones. If you go to like the obscure localities or municipalities, you'll see there the same family names running for different offices. So it's
Parang hindi tumatalab. Ewan ko.
no, I don't think, because I think for one thing, I don't think the movement to defeat or to the movement against political dynasty, I don't think it went off the ground to begin with. I mean, it's in the Constitution,
Yeah.
and the legislators have they remain grappling with it to this day. Kung paano nila anuhin yun, kung paano nila
Ipapatupad. Oo.
i-enforce yung anti-political dynasty provisions ng Constitution. I mean, obviously, there's a need to change the Constitution. They're not going to go that far in terms of suggesting to change the Constitution, because everything right now works for them. Even if the Constitution, forbids that, there's no in law.
That's the reason why I was saying, Kaloy, na it's our culture that dictates that, and also the economy. Like, artists want to be in politics because it's a sustainable income for them, and people love to see celebrities, so they have much fan mentality. So it really works for these kinds of purposes. So para bang it's just entertaining and nothing serious about our public life. That's why people are not mature as well to look beyond all this. So it's like, I don't see an immediate solution to this problem, not even the legal part, because the legislators are small barons and princes as well in their own localities.
It will go on and on.
Yeah, and even there's this argument that says you cannot really get rid of political dynasties. What you can do is try to kind of finesse it in such a way that you can select the better political dynasties. This is the kind of perspective that we had with the Aquinos, for instance. The Aquinos, right? Ang dami nila, but a lot of people like them because they seem to be better political dynasties. But I don't know, that needs to be interrogated as well. And there's probably some wisdom in the idea that political dynasties by themselves are not bad. The same people running for public office. It's always a quality of their governance that matters. But studies and studies and studies have shown that political dynasticism does not redound to good governance or even improved economy. I mean, obviously, we have a long history of that. But so I'm sad to say that I don't think, as you said, Veer, I don't think this will change anytime soon in any significant way.
Right. Now, let me share this video that I had. Kaloy, last March 28th, there's a rally of supporters of the former President Duterte. They went to Times Square and had a birthday greeting sa kanya.
Yeah.
And so we were able to capture that, and I'll share with you this interview we had with somebody who really is so supportive of the former.
Nangyari to sa time ni Marcos pa, kaya every time na magano po ako sa news, hindi na nga po ako nanonood ng news sa Philippines. Facebook na lang talaga lahat, tapos umiyak talaga ako, tapos I was raised na hindi yung magsasalita ng mga bad words po, pero every time na pagkikita ko yung mukha talaga ni Marcos, parang yawa then all the bad words comes into my mind po, kasi grabe yung ginawa. 80 years old na po si Tatay Digong, yun lang po. Tapos he was as a president, I feel secure, safe, lalo na I'm working on a night shift po kasi I'm a nurse. Also, I work in call center, so night shift palagi. I never felt parang threatened yung security ko, lalo na sa gabi. I feel secure, safe po, lalo na nung time ng pandemic. I can see na the government is really working when he was the president. But now po, parang...
So, nandun ka ba sa Pilipinas?
Yes.
During the pandemic?
Ako dumating dito. Kaya po parang never po ako nag-attend ng mga rally sa Philippines kasi Sabi ng papa ko, huwag kang mag-attend ng ganyan kasi 'di ba sa atin parang
Blacklist.
grabe yung grabe yung duguan na rally doon pag magrarally ka. Pero dito ko po parang all out ako, support talaga. Nagrarally sila last time, nandito ako, ngayon nandito na naman ako. I really want to show my support for Tatay Digong.
May question ako sa iyo na
Ano nga yung first name mo ulit?
Rodilyn po.
Rodelyn.
Pelandas.
Landas. Ano pa lang asawa mo?
Jonathan.
Rodelyn, itanong ko lang kung ano ang case kasi ng nag-file kay President Duterte is crimes against humanity, yung mga arbitrary killings. So ano naman ang tingin mo doon? Hindi ba siya liable?
For me po, not because I am for him, but because hindi kasi ginawa ng tama. He was illegally arrested.
You mean sa process?
Oo. Sana po, process muna dun sa atin. Kasi we have our judiciary system. It's working. Bakit nila dinala agad sa ICC? And for me po, hindi siya accountable for the killings. Because, bakit naman po siya accountable na only, how many people he has killed na inano nila 9? Pero sa isang day, maraming killings na nangyayari. Bakit hindi sila parang dinakip to go to ICC? Bakit si Tatay Digong lang? So it's illegal. Kidnapping pa, illegal. The justice was not, the process was not right.
Salamat. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Kaloy, do you
So
think-
there's a lot to unpack there. That was a 3-minute
Kaloy, do you
interview.
think the ICC arrest will have an impact on the elections?
Oh, definitely. But before I go into that, Christina, Maribel, a lot to unpack there that relates directly to what Christina was asking. So if you allow me,
Yes, go.
one of the important things to keep in mind there that she himself admitted is that she gets all of her information on Facebook. She no longer watches.
Yeah.
And that's crucial because this information in the Philippines and pretty much elsewhere in the world is really, really bad now. And that's through social media, mainly Facebook. In the Philippines, it's mainly Facebook. And now that even Mark Zuckerberg has, pretty much took away any sort of fact-checking program, that's going to be even worse. So we have to keep that in mind. And even after the arrest of Duterte, I mean, the amount of disinformation on Facebook was really bad. It was
Yes.
so bad that, and it reflects in what she was saying. I
Yeah.
mean, she was wrong in a lot of ways, on a lot
Yeah,
of things,
yeah.
in terms of the ICC, in terms of due process, in terms of the
Yeah.
mandate of the ICC, how
Yeah.
Duterte was arrested, and all of it. But, and then, kind of, the one thing that really struck me there that sort of makes you draw a direct line from political dynasties to Duterte is when she said that back in the Philippines, when she was working as a call center there, that shifts and all that, she felt safe with Duterte. It's kind of a common narrative now for people who are
Yeah.
trying to emphasize their support for Mr. Duterte. And that's important to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying that those feelings are not valid because there certainly are valid feelings for anybody that they need to feel safe. But there's a very, very, I'm sorry to say this, but there's a very, very selfish reason in exchange for the thousands of deaths that happened because of that. And in fact, if you're willing to kind of sacrifice tens of thousands of deaths just because you want to feel safe, then what kind of moral compass do you have? I think it's a question that goes to your own morality, to your own ethics. But that is again that's a kind of a combination of all the disinformation and also this desperation by a lot of Filipinos to really look for something in the country, in the Philippines, that works for them.
Yeah.
But nothing works for them because of the political dysfunction that we've had, because of political dynasty. So, you can trace that. It's just so, tawag dito, disconcerting that you see all of these people trying to justify the murders of Duterte by saying
Yeah.
you feel safe. And no one is interrogating that, actually. I mean, there are some, but only a few are interrogating that idea that during the Duterte time, they felt safe. Actually, I had an interesting conversation just yesterday with a Grab driver on my way to work. And so I asked him, are you DDS? Yes, sir. I am, proudly.
Proud.
Yeah, he was very proud, and because during Ligong's time, criminals were afraid. You could no longer see them in the streets. Many of them were killed off, so they were not afraid. So that as a driver, as a taxi driver, that's good for me. And then I asked, well, how is it now? Is it still good? Oh no, they're back. They are, crime is back. Everybody, the stuff that we feared about are back. And I told him that doesn't make sense. If Duterte killed all of them, and if they were so scared, so they were just they were just there waiting in the wings. So Bisaya pa nagpahipi lang and then wait for their chance to bounce back. It doesn't make sense. How do you Digong cannot stay in power forever and keep killing all of these people because you want to feel safe. And then for probably about 3 to 5 minutes, he was silent. So, it's that kind of thinking that I'm not ignoring. I'm not saying that's wrong because, of course, we survive in our own context, obviously. But there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of, broken narratives that the politicians have been feeding our people, force feeding them for a long, long time. And this is what we have. So again, this requires nothing short of a political revolution in many ways. In trying to, how do you convince people that not to fall for the same, wrong, and ethically and morally challenged narratives? And
What do you mean by political revolution?
I don't know. Somebody. It can be like the Lenny type revolution that we had in the 2022 election, where a lot of people from the grassroots rose and supported Lenny for the election. That kind of thing.
But how did it go? How could it go wrong, Kaloy? There's not much people backing her up, no?
Well, that, and also, again, I think if you look at the equation, Lenny was up against a lot of these forces that have, for so long, conditioned our people to think that, or to believe that during election, all you need is 500 pesos or 1,000 pesos to get that vote. I mean, that's the other equation here, apart from disinformation, celebrity, corruption during elections, vote buying, and now it's taking all sorts of forms. Ayuda politics, you've heard that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
People now, I think what happened in the past decade or so is how politicians pretty much turned basic social services into a political tool, like health data. Before, I'm sure you remember this, guys, when you were in the Philippines. Before, you're sick, you go to the barangay health worker, you go to the town clinic, and things like that, right? You go to the municipal hospital, the city hospital directly. Now, you need to go through the office of the mayor, the governor, to get a voucher or some form of document that then you can show the hospital or the clinic so that you get treated.
Wow. Is that a new system now? I didn't know that.
Not really new. It's something that has happened probably in the past 5-10 years.
Oh,
Well,
And,
you have to do that so you will get assistance, free assistance.
Yes,
Oh.
I mean, obviously not all, but in poor communities, that's how they do it.
So if they know that you're an oppositionist, they will not help you.
In exchange for so nangyayari ngayon, if I'm for instance a mayor or councilor running for office, I will line up and people will line up to my office to get basic services like health, in exchange for this implicit promise that you wouldn't vote for him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's reflected in the way food packs during disasters are delivered. You have the
So
names
again,
the names on faces of politicians on the bags. Even supposedly non-political events in the Philippines now are being marketed as political, like the Palarong Pambansa, for instance,
Oo.
for the fire. I know this because I had an experience with this with one of my kids.
What happened then?
Palarong Pambansa, you want to qualify for Palarong Pambansa, so you join their preliminaries. The city will support you, and the city will provide you the bags, the gym bags, the shoes, the jerseys, and all of that, but with the names of the mayor emblazoned
Oh.
on it. So it's
So it's not like a city representation. It's like
the mayor,
political.
the local
Yeah.
politician, whoever is sitting as the mayor.
That's the
So
mayor.
Oh my God.
it's
So
it's,
para
it's
bang nag-downgrade ba? Nag-downgrade ba ang public life dyan, Kaloy?
well, I don't know the parameters or the metrics that you can use to say downgrade, because if you look at the middle class or the upper middle class, I don't think they're complaining. I mean, the
Oh.
upper middle class, I don't think. I
Yeah.
mean, the Philippine society is still a very stratified society, right?
Yeah.
So you have these rich folks pretty much immune to all of this. I mean, not to be no offense to our billionaire friend Christina here.
I wonder where that came from.
I'm just trying.
Okay, I'll take it.
I've become too serious na kasi. But we are a stratified society. So during elections, it's even more tawag dito halata. Gated communities. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
very it's a very compartmentalized society is what we have. And I think that is that has some the elections are a way to really keep the poorer ones in check. So if you are a family from a poor community, for instance, in some God forgotten slum area in Manila, you don't care about the politics, you don't care about the person, but during elections, barangay, SK, and all other elections, you care about those elections, because that means that particular moment you will have some money and some food packs. And
I have another question that is kind of different from
Yeah.
political dynastyism and dysfunction. What is the game plan of Amy Marcos?
Well, that's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know.
Sometimes
What game is she playing?
the only thing that I can see that is that she's trying to woo the Duterte vote. And then that's pretty obvious in the way she's conducting herself in the Senate and in her public.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she would go as far as breaking her ties with her brother. I don't
With
think
the
that's
family, yeah.
their mother would be really upset if that were to happen. But I think here's the thing. I don't think Amy Marcos realizes. No, I think Amy Marcos realizes that if she runs kind of a neutral, like not even pro her brother, but just neutral, she will lose.
She will lose, yeah.
So she needed to. I mean, she obviously calculated that sticking it with the Duterte crowd would be more politically advantageous. And she's she's a trapo. She's a traditional politician, so I wouldn't expect any other thing with her. But here's the thing. I mean, just being in an important position in the Senate is that's a huge responsibility. There are things you can do with it, and even as the head of the Foreign Relations Committee, you can do a lot of things with it. But she being a Marcos, I suppose, she being steeped in the same bad political dynamic that she's always had growing up, I don't think she's gonna change. So it's all about making sure that her name's still up in the marquee along with her brother and the mother and all the other. And I think that's the calculation. I don't think there's any kind of principled position on anything as far as I mean, concerned.
It doesn't seem to be helping her win the Duterte crowd, right?
Oh,
That's
Bongo.
what I'm
People
reading.
are kind of skeptical, right?
People are kind of suspicious of her motives.
They are, because she's a Marcos. But then again, also I think that Duterte supporters, I think they will like even those neutral about Duterte. And I think that's a calculation by many of the politicians that we see in the Philippines now. So nobody's speaking out about, apart from the usual ones like Teresa, but the others, no. They look at the survey, and the survey says, "Oh, Bongo is still number one," and many
Oh.
of the senatorial candidates, the
Is
third
he
one,
is he number one?
yeah, in the
Oh,
survey,
wow.
the last, are there. So nakikita nila na, oops, dihado tayo dito if we say something against the Duterte. So, really, and here's the thing, they don't want to be subjected to the attacks, the harassment, the trolling, and the disinformation that the Duterte crowd is so, capable of, that they perfected that art. They don't want to be subjected to that, and so they'd rather stay quiet. And I think that's because kasi ang ano niya, doing the opposite would probably hurt them more than staying quiet. So
Yeah.
just stay quiet. And then
That's the political language there now, the traditional politicians.
yeah.
Yeah, but how about the people's movements there, Kaloy? Like, to me, it's like, isn't it just practical when you say we have a choice between either, I mean, we don't have to choose between the devil and the deep blue sea. I mean, what is going on with the messaging as far as educating people are concerned?
To be honest, that's a very difficult question to answer, because
Talaga?
if you look at, I mean, it depends. If you look at only social media,
Yeah.
it feels like you are overwhelmed by all of this pro Duterte.
Yeah, parang ano lang, parang
Sila lang, ano?
It's just a
Yeah.
deluge of that.
Yeah.
It depends on who or what you're reading or what you're consuming as a reader or as a news consumer. So it's hard, really. It's hard to divine right now what all of this means in terms of, is there a common kind of path forward for the whole political movement in the Philippines? And that brings me actually to the people's organizations or the left or the civil society, who are trying their best to try to influence the narrative and the discourse. Muna, Akbayan, Dilima. I would even include there Sina Chel Jokno, because more than being identified with the Liberal Party, that defunct Liberal Party, I think they're
Defunct na ba sila?
politically.
Unofficially defunct.
I think they're more. I would identify more as civil society actors more than
Civil
anything.
society.
So,
Ano yung chances nila, Chel, Bam Aquino, and Kiko Pangilinan?
well, Bam and Kiko, I think, are in the surveys. They're faring
They're
good.
faring well. Huh? Si Chel wala yata. Ano?
Si Chel medyo malabo, but alam mo naman si Chel, doesn't matter as long as he keeps the fight. So
Yeah.
and also Laila de Lima. So
Laila is not doing well.
I mean, wala pa namang surveys kasi on party list because she's
Party list na pala siya.
party list siya.
Yeah. Oh.
So ano yan tawag dito, wala pa namang surveys on that one, I think. So I think I think it's still a struggle for a lot of these people, a lot of these good politicians. So I don't know. I was at some point I was tempted to think that maybe because Lenny just decided to just quit.
Run for mayor.
I mean, she lost, but she had some great things going for her.
She created some hope,
Some hope. I think a lot of people feel not even betrayed, but they just are down because Lenny decided that running for public office again, I mean national office again.
I think her reasons are personal because
Yeah.
hinaharas yung mga daughters niya, and he doesn't like that kind of a life anymore. And I can understand her, you know.
Yeah, but who isn't in the Philippines? You know.
Yeah.
Then again, no, this is not a shade on her. Okay,
Oh,
she had a good run, and
he had a
she
good run. Oh,
inspired a lot of people to come out.
that's
And
true.
and I mean, kahit nga kami sa pamilya, all of us in the family were like, and we rarely do this thing. Lenny, and we attended
Yeah.
several rallies, and we were really hoping, even my own kids were really hoping that she would pull that off. But again, I think what's lost here is that a lot of no, she decided to just focus on running for local office and not. So I don't know what her plans are for 2028. If some people are saying now, baka tatakbo siya in 2028. I don't know, but now, right now, here's the thing: there's a vacuum for political opposition in the Philippines. There's a Marcos administration as the main political party, and then you have the Dutertes as the opposition right now. Which is not the opposition. But the problem is that as with anything, politics hates vacuums. And it's you create a vacuum in politics, something will, and it can be all sorts of things. So in this case, the Dutertes are fashioning themselves into the opposition, and you have kind of the movement, the political movements, the civil society movements trying to insert themselves into the discourse with limited success for now. But let's see. I mean, it's still worth a fight. I think it's worth pushing for the core political values that perhaps the Liberal Party had, and now even the leftist political groups have, and that's good. We need to inject some balance into the political equation here. This cannot be our political future cannot be defined by President Marcos, the Marcoses, and the Dutertes, and nothing else. It
Should not be.
should not be.
Want to run for politics?
Ah,
Inject new blood into the
no,
system.
I'm too old for that. But going back to your question, Christina, about how would the ICC arrest affect the elections? Well, I think it will affect it in really significant ways. Now, keep in mind, Sara Duterte is under fire in the Philippines. Corruption charge again.
Yeah,
Corruption,
that's right.
been impeached, and a trial is looming, supposedly. I mean, all sorts of seemingly credible allegations are up against her. And she's out of moves, I think, except that her father was arrested. And so now she's turning this into a political butterfly. She's turning her father into a political slogan. I am not a Filipino for nothing, for instance. But more than that, she's turning this into as a kind of a rally for loyalty and support among their base. That would transfer to her in 2028. So it will have an impact. Now, some people are now already speculating about what would happen if Duterte gets convicted, or God forbid he dies while in detention, because that would really be something. To be honest, that would really send a lot of Filipinos mad, and I can only imagine what they would do to try to get back at the Marcoses, because there will be blood. Make no mistake, there will be blood. Now, of course, the other part of this is that whether the popularity of the Dutertes will be sustained in the Philippines.
Right.
Okay, will they have the warm bodies? Because if you look at what happened during the birthday, in his own hometown in Davao City, there were only about 300, give or take, people who attended.
300 lang?
300,000.
Wow, parang marami
300,000.
That's the estimate. 300. So let's be generous. Let's say 300 to 500,000. That's the estimate. But that's their capital. That's their bailiwick. You would expect every Davaoeño to be there, right? But they were not. But in other parts of the country, there were rallies for support, there were birthday rallies, but not really, significant in any way, especially from the Manila area. So
Yeah.
that's telling.
Mhm.
And why this is important? Because now that will give the Duterte side, especially Sara, now the motivation to go after overseas Filipinos more.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's their base.
Oh.
From the very beginning, that's their base.
But
Now,
that's not that much too.
I mean, it's still there. I mean, you look at all these people in North America, Europe, and many other countries. I mean, they're willing to stick their necks out.
Kung absentee voting siguro.
Yeah, absentee voting. I mean, that's my next point, which is that how does... I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Christina.
Pag may absentee voting at maraming sumali, it might tilt the voting
might, yeah.
in favor of Duterte, right?
Yeah, it might. Whether they're actually going to take the extra mile to do that is a question. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy to organize birthday rallies or parties in Amsterdam or The Hague or what for all of these Filipinos during the weekend when they don't have work. We do that all the time, I suppose.
Picnic, yes.
How do you translate that to actual political action come elections? And influence the politics back home. That remains to be seen. So absentee voting in this election and the next are actually going to be very, very crucial. That's I think
Correct.
This is why Miss Sara Duterte is focusing her attention on OFWs and overseas
Yeah.
because they provide a lot of value to her. They provide a lot of content for her disinformation network that filters back home. It's an amazing. If you ask me, it's an amazing thing to do. If you
Oh my gosh.
I think we will always have a dysfunctional political
Yeah.
system,
I think
whatever
we're-
happens in the
Yeah.
future, right? It
We're in
will
this
never
for-
go away.
Napaka-bleak.
I know, right?
Yeah, so that and that's also why a lot of Filipinos are tuning out. Because a lot of us think, oh, I can survive, I can live in the Philippines, I can survive all of these, even if I don't mind the politics. If I'm a virtual assistant, for instance, in Manila, bahala kayo dyan. I'm just going to work and enjoy the fruits of my labor and all that. So, what we're seeing, I think, in the Philippines is a level of the dissolution of empathy, the building of these obstacles or these barriers between Filipinos who are so tired of the way things are being done in the country, so that now they're much more willing to just focus on what they're doing, earn some money, send their children to sleep. I don't care if you kill each other, because that's the message of the drug war and all this DDS narrative that's coming out. I don't care if you kill all of these people as long as I'm safe, as long as I'm okay in my own universe. I don't care if you kill all of these drug addicts. So, to me, and just a final point on the most important kind of thing here as a human rights advocate is the death of empathy in the Philippines.
The death of empathy. That's it. That's interesting.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
But that's looking at it in a very realistic way, like honest way, right, Kaloy?
Yeah, I mean, and the violence. You just look at the Antipolo road rage, for instance. I don't know if you followed that. He shot 4 people, just riders, because they had a traffic altercation and he happened to have a gun. He just pulled it and shot all of these people. And it's the normalization of violence obviously relates to that death of empathy. If you're willing to kill people just because of a traffic altercation, I mean, this happens all the time. Obviously, in the U.S., you have a lot of road rage as well, and many other countries. But in the Philippines, the normalization of violence that Duterte kind of perfected during his reign is just so amazingly sad, and it's really, really bad for the country. And then it contributes to all of this. People just don't care enough toward each other.
Okay. That's right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But I think, like you as a journalist and the two of us here too, we shouldn't just stop having this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Bahala na sila kung makinig sila. It's
Yeah,
up to them, and it's up to the younger ones to interpret and live their lives too in a more empathetic way, I guess. Like, right, Kaloy?
Yeah. It's like
That's all we can do.
that's all we can do. And well, to a large degree, we live in our own privileged perch tayo. But the fact is that a lot of the people who are not as privileged as we are, they're suffering the impacts of decisions, and during elections, they're making decisions that would impact again kung ano yung mga magiging mangyari sa bayan natin. Kasi what happened to the Duterte? That's why he won.
That's right.
So it's this really vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Para bang, Christina and Kaloy, it's like our lifetimes are not enough to make things right.
Yeah.
Parang it's gotten worse.
Too bad we're living this lifetime.
Yeah, but also, I'm just reminded, Christina, about this. I think there's a huge movement growing in the Philippines of Filipinos just wanting to get out of the country.
Yeah.
Going abroad.
Just not even if they can live comfortably in the Philippines, they just want to get out of it because of all the
Because they're sick and tired.
turbulence.
So,
So, mas nag-increase yan, Kaloy?
I feel it. I feel it.
Oh.
I feel it in my own conversations.
even among the rich, the very rich,
Oh yeah.
really,
I think there's that.
they have money. What should be their problem?
Yeah, I know, but at some point that gets to you. I mean, if you live in Forbes Park and you have these high walls and you have like maids in it, everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
that
okay
doesn't,
with that.
that doesn't insulate you from the realities, a few hundred meters away.
Yeah.
It might so much, but it's how long can you keep that up?
It's like sad and sickening too, kahit na you are privileged and you see that, right, Kaloy?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's this drive for a lot of Filipinos to move further away from the center of, again, what I like to use that call the sordidness of the Philippine life, and move. From a province like Cebu, for instance, you want to go to Manila, find work. After Manila, you want to go to the Middle East. You want to.
They would rather go to the provinces.
Now everybody in the Scandinavian countries are beckoning the Philippines. Oh, come to Iceland, come to Finland, come to life here, see, life here, happiest people. And it's like, now, if you're a well-educated Filipino and really, really industrious, I mean, that's a very, very attractive option.
Yeah. Enticing.
And people will say, "Oh, you're stupid if you're not going to take that option because you have it. You have what it takes to do that."
So lumalakas ang brain drain.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not obviously. I'm not even an anthropologist. So I don't. These are just kind of my gut, reading.
One
Your
person's
observations.
viewpoint,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I know.
One person's viewpoint,
Yeah, and then you live in this country long enough.
which Marivir and I share.
Well, but
Correct.
that's sad, but thank you.
Yes.
That's
So
right.
Kalay, we would like to thank you for your time. Very deep and enriching discussion with you.
Yeah.
We're so honored to have you.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Beer and Christina. What's that?
Yeah,
I want to
Christina
promote
wants
my
to plug
book.
her book. She just
Kaloya.
finished
It's
her
my book in
Go ahead.
China.
Put
Sorry,
it in the
hindi
middle,
ako-
Korean.
Huh?
We can see it there.
You can see it.
Living in
this is
China 2019 to 2023, a COVID diary.
a
COVID diary.
Okay,
So
looks
buy
like-
it. It's now in Amazon, $19.99. But if you buy by April 5, it's free shipping. Okay.
Okay.
So from
okay.
the Philippines, they can buy too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Putting us
I have-
Amazon, so I don't have to mail it. Di ba?
oh, there you go.
Kaloy, bili ka ha?
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, we'll
You
plug
can-
that every now and then.
Yeah.
Yes. Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Christina. And Kaloy, we will talk to you again in another episode.
We will
na.
talk to you again after the
Yeah.
election.
Ka namin.
Probably not in person because I'm not sure I would risk
We will
going
come to
there.
the US.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll
ingat
see.
ka, Kaloy. When you
Ingat,
come
thank you.
here.
Kaloy, and maraming salamat.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
watching, everyone.
you.
Thanks, Krian.